The envelope sat on my desk like a coiled snake. Divorce papers. After 15 years of marriage, my wife Jessica handed me divorce papers with the kind of smile people wear when they think they've won something. But what she didn't know was that I'd been 3 steps ahead for months, and what happened next would completely shatter her world in ways she never saw coming. My name is Christopher Hayes. I'm 43 years old, and I built Hayes Technologies from nothing into a company worth $80 million. Started in my garage with $5,000 borrowed from my father, and now we employ 300 people across 4 states. I design security software for Fortune 500 companies, the kind of systems that protect everything from banking data to government infrastructure. My clients pay premium prices because I'm the best at what I do. And that precision, that attention to detail, was about to become very important in ways Jessica couldn't possibly imagine. I met Jessica Thornton at a charity fundraiser 16 years ago. She was 26 then, working as an event coordinator for a non-profit organization. Beautiful in that effortless way, with auburn hair and blue eyes that seemed to hold promises of forever. She wore a green dress that night, and when she laughed at my jokes about computer programmers, I thought I'd found someone who understood both sides of me, the businessman and the nerd. Our wedding was small but elegant, just family and close friends at a vineyard in Napa Valley. Jessica looked like something out of a dream walking down that aisle, and I remember thinking I was the luckiest man alive. We honeymooned in Greece, spent 2 weeks exploring ancient ruins and planning our future over wine and seafood. She wanted to open her own event planning business, and I was more than happy to fund her dreams. For 14 years, everything seemed perfect on the surface. We lived in a custom-built home in Meadowbrook Heights, the kind of place that made other successful couples envious. 6 bedrooms, infinity pool, and a view of the mountains that took your breath away every morning. Jessica's business flourished, planning high-end weddings and corporate events for the city's elite. We traveled to Europe twice a year, owned a beach house in Maui, and hosted dinner parties that were talked about for months afterward. But about 18 months ago, something shifted. Jessica started working later, taking calls in other rooms, smiling at her phone in ways that made my stomach twist. When I asked about it, she'd wave me off with explanations about demanding clients and difficult vendors. The excuses were always reasonable, always logical, and I wanted to believe her because the alternative meant everything I'd built was a lie. Then came the changes I couldn't ignore. New workout classes that required expensive athletic wear she never wore around me, a sudden interest in organic cooking and meditation retreats, weekend conferences that seemed to multiply like weeds. Each explanation was perfectly reasonable on its own, but together they formed a pattern I couldn't unsee. The real evidence came from my own security systems. Ironic, isn't it? I designed software to protect corporations from data breaches, but I never thought I'd use those same skills to monitor my own wife. But when you work in cybersecurity, you notice things. Digital footprints, metadata, the kind of information most people don't even know they're leaving behind. Jessica's credit card statements told a story she wasn't sharing with me. Expensive lunches at restaurants I'd never heard of. Hotel bookings in our own city. Why would someone need a hotel room 30 minutes from home? Then there was the GPS history on her car. I'd installed a tracking system years ago for security purposes, never thinking I'd use it to track her movements. But there it was. An address in the Arts District. A downtown coffee shop at odd hours. Places that didn't match her business calendar. The biggest red flag was her phone. Behavior. Jessica used to leave her phone everywhere. Kitchen counter, bathroom sink, bedside table. Now it was glued to her hand, always face down. Password changed to something I didn't know. She'd developed this habit of taking it everywhere, even to the bathroom during dinner. And when it buzzed with notifications, she'd jump like she'd been caught stealing. But I didn't confront her. What was the point? If someone wants to leave, they're going to leave regardless of what you say or do. And honestly, part of me was curious to see how far she'd take the charade, how long she'd keep lying to my face while planning her exit strategy. The morning she handed me those divorce papers, I felt something close to relief, not because I wanted our marriage to end, but because the pretending was finally over. No more wondering if I was imagining things. No more second-guessing myself when she came home with stories that didn't quite add up. If you're watching this and you've ever been through something similar, if you've ever felt that gut-wrenching moment when you realize the person you trusted most has been living a double life, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment below about how you handled betrayal in your own life. And smash that like button, because this story is about to get a whole lot more interesting. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. It was a Tuesday morning in October when Jessica walked into my home office carrying an envelope. I was reviewing a security proposal for a banking client, and she just stood there in the doorway, holding that envelope like it was a grenade with the pin already pulled. "Christopher, we need to talk," she said, and her voice had that rehearsed quality people get when they've practiced a speech in their head. I saved my work and turned to face her. She was wearing yoga clothes, the expensive kind from that boutique downtown where a single outfit costs $400. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and she had that glow people get when they're about to do something they think will change their life for the better. "What's up?" I asked, keeping my tone casual. She walked over and placed the envelope on my desk, right next to my coffee mug. Not accidentally, mind you. Jessica was always precise about these things, staging every moment for maximum impact. "I want a divorce, Christopher," she announced, still not quite making eye contact. She was fidgeting with her water bottle, unscrewing and rescrewing the cap like it was the most important task in the world. I picked up the envelope and looked inside. Divorce papers, already filled out with my name, her name, and neat little yellow sticky notes marking where I needed to sign. She'd been planning this for weeks, maybe months. Every detail was organized, precise. She thought this through. "All right," I said, reaching for a pen. "Works for me." The silence that followed was something else. I could practically hear the gears grinding in her head as she processed my response. She'd probably rehearsed this scene a dozen times, maybe even practiced it in front of her bathroom mirror. But I'm guessing none of her rehearsals included me just agreeing without a fight. I started signing the papers, one page at a time. My signature looked the same as it always did. Steady, clear, no shaking hands or dramatic flourishes. Just Christopher Hayes handling business efficiently. "That's it?" Jessica finally asked, her voice pitched higher than normal. "You're not going to ask why? You're not going to fight for us?" I looked up at her then. Really looked. She was beautiful. No denying that. At 41, she could still turn heads when she walked into a room. But there was something different in her eyes now. Something that had been growing for months. Distance, maybe. Or guilt wearing a mask of excitement. "Should I fight for us, Jessica?" I asked, keeping my voice level. "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've already made up your mind about everything." She opened her mouth like she was going to say something, then closed it again. I finished signing the last page and slid the papers back across the desk to her. "There you go," I said, picking up my coffee. "All set." Jessica stood there for another minute, clearly waiting for me to break down or beg her to reconsider. When that didn't happen, something shifted in her expression, confusion mixed with what might have been disappointment. "I've met someone," she said finally, and now there was defiance in her voice. "Someone who actually understands me. Someone who cares about more than just money and business deals." "Good for you," I replied, turning back to my computer. "I hope he makes you happy." "His name is Tyler," she continued, apparently determined to get some kind of reaction from me. "Tyler Brennan. He's an artist. A real artist, not some corporate sellout. He lives simply, authentically. He doesn't care about material things or status symbols. He loves me for who I am, not for what I can do for him." I nodded, still looking at my screen. "Sounds perfect." "That's all you have to say?" Jessica's voice was rising now, frustration bleeding through. "After 15 years, that's your response?" I turned back to face her, and for the first time since this conversation started, I let her see what I was really thinking. "Jessica, you want to know what I think? I think you've been cheating on me for at least 6 months. I think Tyler Brennan is probably a struggling artist who can't afford his own rent. And I think you've convinced yourself that trading financial security for romantic poetry is somehow noble and authentic. But sure, let's pretend this is about true love and not about you having a midlife crisis." Her face went white, then red. "How dare you? You don't know anything about Tyler or what we have together." "I know he lives in a studio apartment in the Arts District," I said calmly. "I know he owes $47,000 in student loans and another $12,000 in credit card debt. I know his car was repossessed 3 months ago, and he's been borrowing money from his parents to make rent. Want me to keep going? Jessica stared at me like I'd just spoken in a foreign language. You had me investigated? You hired someone to spy on me? I didn't have to hire anyone, I replied. I build security software, remember? Digital footprints are kind of my specialty. Your phone's GPS, credit card statements, email metadata. It's all there if you know where to look. You're disgusting, she spat. Invading my privacy like that. This is exactly why I'm leaving you. You're controlling and paranoid, and you can't stand the idea of me having my own life. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the manicured lawn and the pool where we used to host summer parties. You know what's funny, Jessica? I'm not even angry. I'm just tired. Tired of pretending I don't notice when you come home smelling like someone else's cologne. Tired of acting like I believe your stories about late client meetings. Tired of being married to someone who checks out emotionally but still expects me to fund her lifestyle. My lifestyle? Jessica laughed bitterly. You act like you've been doing me some huge favor all these years, like I should be grateful for the house and the cars and the vacations. Aren't you? I asked, turning to face her. Because last time I checked, your event planning business operates at a loss. Has been for 3 years now. The only reason you still have a business at all is because I've been quietly transferring money into your accounts to cover expenses. Did you think your clients were suddenly paying triple what they used to? Jessica went very still. What are you talking about? Your business, Jessica. It's been hemorrhaging money since 2021. Bad investments in inventory, overpaying for venues, hiring too many staff, members you couldn't afford. I've been covering your losses because I thought we were partners. Turns out I was just the bank. She grabbed the edge of my desk like she needed support. You're lying. I pulled up a spreadsheet on my computer and turned the screen toward her. Here's every transfer I've made to your business accounts over the past 3 years. $180,000 total. Want to see the receipts? Jessica stared at the numbers, her expression shifting from defiance to confusion to something that might have been shame. But it passed quickly, replaced by anger. You were trying to control me, she said, making me dependent on you so I couldn't leave. I was trying to support my wife's dreams, I corrected, but believe whatever narrative helps you sleep at night. She gathered up the signed divorce papers, holding them against her chest like a shield. Tyler and I are going to build something real together, something based on love and respect, not financial manipulation. I genuinely hope that works out for you, I said, and I meant it. Not because I wished her well, but because I knew exactly what was coming next. And watching her realize the truth was going to be far more satisfying than any argument. Jessica walked to the door, then turned back one more time. Oh, and Christopher? I'm keeping the beach house. My lawyer says I'm entitled to half of everything, including the properties. I smiled. We'll see what the lawyers say. After she left, I sat down at my desk and made a phone call I'd been planning for weeks. Rebecca, it's Christopher, I said when my assistant answered. It's time to execute phase 2. Are you sure? Rebecca Chen had been my executive assistant for 8 years. She knew everything about my business and quite a bit about my personal life. More importantly, she was efficient, discreet, and completely loyal. I'm sure. Let's start with the credit cards. All of them? Every single one that's in my name. Cancel them immediately. What about her mother's medical coverage? That was the nuclear option. Jessica's mother, Patricia, had been diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis 5 years ago. The medication she needed cost $3,000 a month, and I'd been paying for it through my company's extended health plan. Jessica knew this. She just didn't think I'd ever use it as leverage. Cut it off, I said, effective immediately. And the house? Change the locks tomorrow morning. Have a locksmith there at 8 a.m. And Rebecca, make sure everything is documented. Photos, timestamps, everything. I want a record of exactly when and how each action was taken. Consider it done, Rebecca said. Anything else? Yes. Transfer $500,000 from the joint account to my personal account. Leave enough for her to cover this month's expenses, but that's it. And cancel the credit line for her business. No more transfers, no more cash injections. She wants independence. She can have it. Christopher, Rebecca said carefully, you know she's going to lose her mind when all this hits. That's exactly what I'm counting on. I hung up and leaned back in my chair, feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Control. For too long, I'd been reacting to Jessica's moves, playing defense in my own marriage. Now it was time to go on offense. The next morning, Jessica called at 7:30 a.m. I let it go to voicemail. She called again at 7:45. Voicemail. By 8:15, she'd called 6 times and sent a dozen text messages, each one more frantic than the last. The texts started out angry. "What the hell did you do to my credit cards?" Then confused. "Why isn't my car key working? Did you change something?" Then panicked. "Christopher, this isn't funny. I have a meeting with a client this morning and I can't get into the house to get my files." Then desperate. "Please call me back. We need to talk about this like adults." I deleted each message without responding and went about my morning routine. Shower, coffee, news. By 9 a.m., Rebecca called to confirm everything was in motion. "The locks are changed," she reported. "I have photos of the locksmith's work and timestamps for everything. The credit cards are canceled, the joint account has been adjusted, and I just got confirmation that Patricia's medical coverage has been terminated." "Perfect. What about the beach house?" "Already handled. I had a property management company change the locks there yesterday evening. They've also been instructed not to allow Jessica access without written authorization from you." "Excellent work, Rebecca." "There's more," she said, and I could hear the satisfaction in her voice. "I did some digging on Tyler Brennan like you asked. Want to know what I found?" "Tell me everything." Tyler isn't just broke, he's spectacularly broke. He owes money to 3 different credit card companies, has a judgment against him from a former landlord, and his bank account is currently overdrawn by $400, but here's the interesting part. He's been dating Jessica for 7 months, but he's also been seeing at least 2 other women during that same period. You're kidding. I have screenshots from his social media accounts. Photos with a woman named Ashley Thompson from 3 weeks ago, very romantic. And another woman named Claire Rodriguez from last month. Both posts are public, by the way. Tyler's not exactly subtle about his social life. I felt a cold satisfaction settling in my chest. "Send me those screenshots." "Already in your email. There's more, though. Tyler has a pattern. He targets successful women, love bombs them with artistic authenticity and emotional depth, then slowly starts borrowing money. Small amounts at first, then bigger. I found records of him doing this with at least 4 women over the past 6 years. So he's a con artist. A very charming con artist, according to the women I spoke with. They all thought they'd found their soulmate right up until he disappeared with their money." I pulled up my email and looked at the screenshots Rebecca had sent. Tyler with Ashley at an art gallery opening, holding hands and looking deep into each other's eyes. Tyler with Claire at a beach bonfire, his arm around her shoulders. And in several photos, Tyler wearing expensive clothes that he definitely couldn't afford on an artist's income. "Rebecca, you're a genius. Just doing my job. Want me to send these to Jessica?" "Not yet. Let her figure things out on her own first. I want her to really commit to this fantasy before I show her the truth." By noon, Jessica had left 11 voicemails. I finally listened to one just to gauge her mental state. "Christopher, I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but this is serious." Her voice was shaking. "I tried to buy groceries this morning and my card was declined. All of my cards were declined. And when I went home to get my checkbook, I couldn't get into the house. The locks are different. Did you seriously change the locks? And my mother just called me crying because her insurance company says her coverage was terminated." "Christopher, she needs her medication. This is cruel and vindictive, and I will not let you get away with this. Call me back immediately." I deleted the message and called Rebecca back. Status update? Jessica's mother called her insurance company 17 times this morning. She's currently trying to figure out how to pay for her medication out of pocket. Jessica herself has been calling various locksmiths trying to find someone who can get her into the house. I took the liberty of alerting all the local locksmith companies that the property owner, that's you, has explicitly forbidden unauthorized entry. Beautiful. What about her business accounts? The credit line has been frozen. She tried to access funds this morning to pay her staff and discovered she's $25,000 short. She's currently scrambling to figure out how to make payroll. And Tyler? According to his social media, he's currently at a coffee shop in the Arts District. Posted a photo of his latte 20 minutes ago with the caption, "Living my best authentic life." No mention of Jessica or any drama. I had to laugh at that. While Jessica's world was imploding, Her soulmate was drinking overpriced coffee and posting about authenticity. My phone buzzed with another call from Jessica. This time I answered. "Christopher." Her voice was raw with emotion. "What the hell is wrong with you?" "Good morning, Jessica. How's your day going?" "How's my... Are you serious right now? You locked me out of my own house? You canceled my credit cards? You cut off my mother's medication. What kind of monster does that?" "The kind who got served divorce papers yesterday," I replied calmly. "You wanted your independence, Jessica. I'm giving it to you." "This is insane. This is abuse." "Actually, it's just practical. See, all those credit cards, they were in my name. The house, solely in my name. Your mother's medical coverage, through my company's insurance plan. You wanted a divorce, which means we're no longer partners. So I'm simply protecting my assets and ending financial obligations that are no longer my responsibility. You can't just cut off my mother's medication. She needs that to function." "Then I suggest you figure out how to pay for it yourself. Isn't that what independence means? Standing on your own 2 feet? Jessica was crying now, her voice breaking. "Christopher, please, I know you're hurt, but this is going too far. My mother hasn't done anything to you." "You're right, Patricia hasn't done anything to me. But you have. You cheated on me, you lied to me, and you tried to steal half my assets. So here's what's going to happen, Jessica. You're going to figure out how to live the authentic life you wanted with Tyler. And I'm going to protect everything I've built. I can't afford... That's not my problem. Anymore. You made your choice. Now live with it." I hung up before she could respond. My phone immediately started ringing again, but I turned it off and went back to work. Over the next 3 days, I watched Jessica's carefully constructed world fall apart through a combination of security camera footage and updates from Rebecca. She tried to get into the house twice, both times being turned away by police who confirmed that I was the sole owner and had every right to deny her access. She maxed out the one credit card I'd left active, the one that had a $500 limit, and she discovered that without access to her business accounts, she couldn't make payroll, which meant 3 of her employees quit on the spot. But the real turning point came on day 4, when Tyler's true colors finally showed. According to Rebecca's sources, which included a very helpful barista at Tyler's favorite coffee shop, Jessica had gone to see Tyler in a panic. She needed money, needed help, needed her soulmate to be the man she thought he was. Tyler's response was to suggest she ask her wealthy husband for money. "But we're getting divorced," Jessica had apparently said. "That's the whole point." "Yeah, but he's got millions," Tyler had replied. "Can't you just, ask him nicely? Tell him you'll be nicer during the divorce if he helps you out now?" When Jessica tried to explain that I'd cut her off completely, Tyler had gotten uncomfortable. "Look, babe, I love you and all, but I can't really help you financially right now. I'm between commissions and my parents just cut me off too. Maybe you should try to work things out with Christopher, at least until you get your half of the assets." Jessica had left Tyler's apartment in tears, finally understanding what I'd known for months. Tyler wasn't her soulmate. He was just another user who saw her as a meal ticket, except unlike me, he couldn't even provide the meal. On day 5, Jessica showed up at my office. Rebecca tried to stop her, but Jessica pushed past security and barged into my private conference room where I was meeting with a client. "Christopher, we need to talk," she said, and she looked terrible. Hair unwashed, makeup smeared, wearing the same clothes from 2 days ago. I excused myself from the meeting and led Jessica to my office. She collapsed into a chair, and I could see she'd been crying for days. "I made a mistake," she said quietly. "A huge mistake. Tyler isn't who I thought he was. And I see now that I took you for granted. I took everything for granted." I sat down across from her and waited. "Can we please talk about this like reasonable adults?" Jessica continued. "I know I hurt you. I know I betrayed your trust. But Christopher, we were together for 15 years. That has to count for something." "It did count for something," I said. "Right up until you decided it didn't. I want to work things out. I want to go to counseling. Rebuild what we had. Please, Christopher, I'm begging you." I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshots Rebecca had sent. Tyler with Ashley. Tyler with Claire. Tyler's pattern of targeting successful women and draining their bank accounts. Jessica stared at the photos, her face going from pale to gray. "He said I was special. He said he'd never felt this way about anyone." "He says that to all of them," I replied. You weren't special, Jessica. You were just the next Mark. She started sobbing then, really sobbing. The kind of crying that comes from having your entire worldview shattered in a single moment. What am I going to do? She asked through tears. I can't pay my staff. I can't access my business accounts. I can't even get my clothes from the house. And my mother needs her medication, Christopher. She's in so much pain without it. I leaned back in my chair, studying the woman who'd once promised to love me forever. Here's what's going to happen, Jessica. You're going to sign a new agreement. You get nothing from me except what I decide to give you. No house, no cars, no business support. In exchange, I'll restore your mother's medical coverage and give you $50,000 to start over. You take that money, you move out of town, and you never contact me again except through lawyers. That's not fair. I'm entitled to half of everything. You're entitled to what you can prove you contributed. And since your business has been operating at a loss for 3 years, since the house was purchased before we married with my money, and since I can prove you committed adultery, I don't think a judge is going to be very sympathetic. But take your chances if you want. Spend the next 3 years in court battles while your mother suffers without medication and your business collapses completely, or take my offer and walk away with some dignity intact. Jessica sat there for a long moment, and I could see her calculating, trying to find an angle, trying to figure out if there was any way to salvage more from this wreckage. I'll take the offer, she said finally. Smart choice. Rebecca will have the paperwork ready by tomorrow. Sign it, take your check, and disappear. Jessica stood up slowly, like she'd aged a decade in the past 5 days. I really did love you once, you know. I know, I said, and I really did love you. But love isn't enough when one person is living a lie. She walked to the door, then turned back one more time. Did you ever actually care about me, or was this always just business to you? I thought about that question, about all the years we'd spent together, all the plans we'd made. I cared enough to support your dreams even when they weren't profitable. I cared enough to pay for your mother's medication without ever asking for gratitude. I cared enough to give you 15 years of loyalty and trust. But you know what I learned, Jessica? Caring isn't enough when the other person doesn't care back. After she left, I sat in my office feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. Not happiness, not satisfaction, but genuine peace. The weight of pretending was gone. The burden of propping up a failing marriage had been lifted. And for the first time in years, I could focus on building something real instead of maintaining something broken. Rebecca knocked on my door an hour later. The paperwork is ready. Legal says it's airtight. Good. Let's get this finished. There's one more thing, Rebecca said. I did some final checking on Tyler Brennan. Want to know what I found? Tell me. He's already moved on. Posted photos with a new woman yesterday. Another successful professional type. Looks like he found his next target. I had to laugh at that. Tyler was nothing if not consistent. Should we warn her? Rebecca asked. No. Some people need to learn their own lessons, just like Jessica did. 3 days later, Jessica signed the agreement, took her check, and moved to Phoenix where her sister lived. I heard through mutual friends that she'd closed her business, sold off her equipment, and taken a job as an event coordinator for a hotel chain. A regular salary, regular hours, no more pretending to be an entrepreneur. Her mother's medication was restored the day after Jessica signed the papers. I'd never actually intended to leave Patricia without her treatment. I just needed Jessica to understand what life would look like without my support. As for me, I threw myself into work with renewed focus. Hayes Technologies landed 3 major contracts in the following months, expanded into 2 new states, and increased revenue by 40%. Without the distraction of a failing marriage, I could finally build the company I'd always envisioned. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I ran into Jessica's best friend Morgan at a charity event. She pulled me aside with an apologetic expression. I need to tell you something, Morgan said. Jessica asked me to try to get information from you about whether you're dating anyone, whether you ever talk about her, that kind of thing. And what did you tell her? I told her you seem happier than you've been in years. Which is true, by the way. You look good, Christopher. Thanks. I feel good. She's struggling, Morgan admitted. The job in Phoenix isn't what she expected, and she's lonely. I think she finally understands what she gave up. I thought about that for a moment. About Jessica somewhere in Arizona, probably lying awake at night, wondering if she'd made the biggest mistake of her life. "You know what the saddest part is?" I said finally. "She didn't give up anything. She threw it away. There's a difference." Morgan nodded. "For what it's worth, I think she knows that now." "Good. Maybe she'll make better choices next time." Looking back now, I can see that finding those divorce papers on my desk was the best thing that could have happened to me. Not because I wanted my marriage to end, but because it freed me from the exhausting work of maintaining something that was already dead. Jessica thought she was trading security for authenticity, wealth for true love. What she actually traded was a partner who supported her dreams for a con artist who saw her as an ATM. And when that didn't work out, she learned the hard way that independence means standing on your own 2 feet, even when those feet aren't as steady as you thought they'd be. As for Tyler Brennan, last I heard, he was dating his 4th successful woman in 2 years. Some people never learn. But that wasn't my problem anymore. The lesson I learned from all this is simple. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. And when they tell you they want to leave, let them go. Don't fight for someone who doesn't want to be fought for. Don't prop up someone who's determined to fall. Just step back, protect yourself, and let them discover what life looks like without you. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't destroying someone. It's simply letting them experience the natural consequences of their own choices. Jessica wanted independence. I gave it to her. She wanted to see what life looked like with Tyler instead of me. I made sure she got that experience fully and completely, and now she knows. She knows what it feels like to lose everything you took for granted. She knows what it's like to realize too late that security and support aren't weaknesses, they're gifts. And she knows that some men will love you, and some men will use you, and telling the difference matters more than anything else. Me, I'm doing better than ever. The company is thriving. I'm dating someone who actually appreciates what I bring to the table, and I sleep through the night without wondering what lies I'm going to hear in the morning. Tyler did me a favor, really. He showed Jessica her true colors, and in doing so, he showed me mine. I learned I'm stronger than I thought, more resilient, more capable of walking away from something broken instead of endlessly trying to fix it. And sometimes that's the best lesson you can learn. Not every marriage is worth saving. Not every person deserves your loyalty. And sometimes letting go is the strongest thing you can do. If you made it this far, thank you for listening to my story. If you're going through something similar, remember this. You're stronger than you think. You're worth more than how they treat you. And walking away isn't giving up, it's choosing yourself. Now go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Drop a comment below sharing your own story or just letting me know what you thought of mine. And smash that like button because stories like this need to be heard. People need to know that it's okay to protect yourself, even from someone you once loved. Thanks for watching. And remember, sometimes the best revenge is just living well.